All right, all right. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and we're getting ready to do a live heart talk. Make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe. And I'd love to be a blessing to you. I'm getting ready to share my testimony. All right, all right. It's 11:32, and you are tuned into Heart Connections with your heart coach Adelai Brown on your community station with international inspiration, kinetichifi.com. It is time for Heart Talk, and as promised, this is the portion of the show where we come to renew our minds and restore our hearts. And I told you guys that I was going to share a little bit of my testimony with my mother for Mother's Day. I'm going to share my testimony with just my experiences with mothering, so that falls into with my mother, my experience with my grandmother, and my experience with my daughter. I just want to kind of go through that just because, this is my thing. And I just feel like it could be a blessing to someone because I've had many conversations with people who have had issues with, with their mom. And I know Mother's Day used to really be a difficult day for me. And it's not anymore. And I'm still working through everything, but it's much better than it used to be. And so I'm going to just share a little bit. If you got a chance to listen in on yesterday, I encourage you, if you did not get a chance to listen in on yesterday, I encourage you to go to my Facebook page, Heart Connection, so that you could check out the interview. But my mother was on. Yesterday was World Lupus Day. This is National Lupus Awareness Month. And my mother has been a survivor of lupus for almost, 40 years? Well, it's been in her body, of course, but she got diagnosed back in 1980. So it's been 38 years since she was diagnosed with lupus. And when she got diagnosed with lupus, it was as if it was a death sentence back then because they didn't know, they still don't know a lot about the disease, but back then it was even worse. They really did not know a lot about the disease of lupus. But my mother suffered a lot with her illness and just dealing with other things in her life. And I know for me personally, I know those things now. And before we get into it, this segment is brought to you by my new book, Help Save Me from My Broken Heart, Your Journey to Living and Loving Again. And I'd also like to let you guys know that, you know, when and you can pre-order your copy at theheartconnections.com. I share this testimony about my mother because I feel like people need to hear it. There are a lot of people in bondage when it comes to this. They will not heal because they don't want to tell themselves the truth. And one of the things we have to understand is that the truth sets us free. However, the truth also hurts a lot of times, especially when you're not prepared for it or you're just eluding it. You're not embracing it. If you're not embracing the truth, if you're not prepared for the truth, then the truth is going to be the truth is really going to if you're not prepared for it and it comes to you, it can make you angry. It can make you want to shut down. And for me, for many years, my mother and I, it was always like this rift, this disconnect, this all like butting up against each other. But it wasn't necessarily on the surface. It was a lot more in the atmosphere with the moods. And when when I was like a teenager and she got a new boyfriend when I was in like, I think middle school. That's when everything changed. When I fifth grade. Fifth grade, everything changed. And I'll say for about 20, almost 20 years of our relationship together was full of a lot of strife, a lot of turmoil, a lot of frustration. Because see, we started off together. She was a young mom, like she said, and I was her baby, and she was a single mom. My father was not in the picture. And so we grew together. She talked about that time of separation when she was sick and I had to get my shots and therefore she wasn't able to be around me. See, a lot of those things I did not know until I was an adult. So when she and I was going through our things, because we went through some things, I'm kind of all over the place, but it's so much that I'm trying to condense into this, this compact into this 10 minutes. But knowing the backdrop now, even when I tell the story, it's different. And that's another reason why I'm excited about the Help Save Me Mother's Day brunch tomorrow, because I want to allow people that space to talk about it, to hear people talk about it, because you don't have to be the one talking, but you can even hear someone else talking about some things that they've been through, and it can help you in your situation. But I considered us a team up until about fifth grade. And when I got to fifth grade, she got a new boyfriend that I feel was sent from hell to like just tear up our relationship. Now, I'm not saying that he was so hellacious, because even in that situation, I've grown a lot. But it was a very he was and it was a very hellacious situation. But now I look at it different. Now I have nothing but love and compassion and respect for him. But at the time we were all going through these things, it was pure D hell. There's really no nice way to put it. So from like fifth grade up until I was about 30, so that's about 20 years, 19, 20 years. My mother and I just really did not get along. I'm so proud of her. She has overcome, she's in remission from lupus. She's also overcome a long addiction, drug and alcohol sickness. And she's been clean for 7 years now. And through those years that she was battling her sickness and her disease, I battled with her. I battled her. I battled with her. We battled together. We battled each other. We battled other people. And it was tough. I had to grow up very quickly because my mother was sick. My mother was sick in different parts, and just in different areas, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I didn't understand it. As a child, I was angry. I felt like as a child, you should provide for me. You should care for me. You should have it together. You should be emotionally stable. I should be able to trust you. And I didn't feel that through many years, and it was hurtful. And what happened through those years is it forced me to, well, I thought it was, I'll say, I became hard, and I became very independent. And I became independent out of anger, out of frustration, out of angst and anxiety for not knowing the worry of what could happen. And it really impacted our relationship because I was angry with my mother because I felt like she should have had it together. I shouldn't be going through this. I don't like your boyfriend who became your husband. I hate him. You love him more than you love me. Anybody, mama, ever had a boyfriend and you felt like she loved him more than she loved you? I went through that. And that's not a good feeling. And I don't think that any parent consciously wants their child to feel that way, but I also don't think that many parents are equipped with the tools necessary to work through these blended family situations. And it really impacted our relationship. So it just was a lot that teenager and going through teenage things. And then to add, to add to the madness, I got pregnant at 17. At 17 years old, when I got pregnant, I was already out living on my own. I'm talking living with my best friend and her sister, like paying bills, like making sure I get to school on my own, buy my own clothes, go grocery shopping, wash my own clothes, like 17 years old, grown. I thought I was grown. And when I think about these things and I think about Mother's Day, and I know some people are like, how is this like a uplifting Mother's Day heart talk? Like, what is this? For me, it is. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the way I feel about my mother now and where we are in our relationship now is a blessing, and it's a testament to others about the potential of growth that they could have in their relationships. My mother and I bump heads all the time. We still fuss and argue with each other, but it's done differently. And we're growing and we're learning to love each other, and we're learning to love each other the way that the other one needs to be loved, and not necessarily the way we want to give love. Kind of like the Gary Chapman with the 5 love languages. A lot of times we love people the way we want to be loved, but we don't take into account that that might not be the way they want to be loved. And my mom and I think love each other dearly, passionately, but we really had to learn and grow in how to love each other. And one of the biggest things was for me was forgiving her. And that's one of the 6 steps in the transplant process in the book. And it just in the my process, but I had to forgive her. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive my dad. I had to forgive a lot of other situations. But some of the things that she and I have been through, and to be where we are right now, it's only by the grace of God, only by the power of the Holy Spirit working in and through people who sometimes didn't even want it to work through. Because I can be honest, there were times that I was rude and mean to my mom because I justified it, that you weren't there for me. You didn't do what you needed to do. And the thing about it, I was always there for her and I always supported her, but I was resentful for it. I felt like, why can't you be the mother and I be the daughter and actually take on the roles? What I'm learning now as I grow is that these roles are plastic, they're fluid, and we have to learn boundaries. And one of the things that I've learned in the development of my mother and I in our relationship where we are now is I have learned boundaries and so has she. And these boundaries are strengthening our relationship and not pushing us apart. And I know on this Mother's Day, there are some adult daughters that need to reinforce some boundaries with their mothers. And it can show up in different ways. And there's some adult sons that need to reinforce some boundaries. And why do you need to do it? Because your relationship needs it. Your relationship needs for you to have a good outlook on you and your mother. I know some people love and adore their mothers. And I also know other people who on the surface they say they do, but they're holding hate and resentment on the inside. And I'm talking to you. Those are the people I'm talking to right now. The ones of y'all who are completely in love with your mama, pray for us. Okay? Because it's a process now. Like I said, me and mommy are good now. We've always been good. I just didn't know we were good for all of those years. But God did. And that's why we have to know how to roll with the flow. We have to know when to hold on to things and when to let go. But one thing I have to make sure y'all understand, I always love my mama. I love my mama when we were going through, and I love her even more now. I am proud of her for the woman she has become and is becoming, and the way she's resilient about her peace and her health and her wellness is something that's very inspirational. So I love you, mommy. This has been my Mother's Day testimony for me and my mama. I'll be back to talk about my Mother's Day testimony with me and my daughter. Well, for me as a mother. In the meantime, the intruders, I'll always love my mama. What better song to play than this right now? So you guys enjoy this. We'll be back with our midday mix after this. Shout out to all the teachers. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. Shout out to all the nurses. We love y'all. And happy birthday to Shonda. I love you, girl. You a wonderful mama. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to my nephew, Rose. I'll be back to talk about y'all a little bit, but that just dropped on me. Happy Mother's Day, guys. Heart connections. Kai, high five.